Hello everyone, this is my supplemental video for your lesson in Module 1, Week 1, which has a topic of quadratic equation. So at the end of this video lecture, you're expected to illustrate quadratic equations. So let us get started. So let us first define what is quadratic equation. So quadratic equation is also known as second degree of equation because the highest power or exponent of the variable is 2. For example, you have here two different equations. The first equation is x squared plus 3x minus 18 is equal to 0. And the second equation is x cubed plus 8x minus 25 is equal to 0. Question is, which do you think of this equation is an example of quadratic equation? So that is correct. So x squared plus 8x minus 18 is equal to 0 is an example of quadratic equation because its variable x has an exponent of 2. Furthermore, we have the standard form of quadratic equation. So ano po yung standard form niya? So that is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a, b, and c are real numbers and a must not be equal to 0. So why po na ang ating a must not be equal to 0? Because if a will become 0, therefore, it will no longer called a quadratic equation. Also, we have three terms in quadratic equation. The first term is ax squared, the second term is positive bx, and the third term is positive c. Ax squared is also called quadratic term because its highest exponent is positive 2. Bx is called linear term because the highest exponent of each variable x is positive 1. That is why it is called linear term. And c is called the constant term, having no variable in its side. Let us have an example of quadratic equation in standard form. So in this example, we have x squared plus 3x minus 15 is equal to 0. So paano po natin malalaman ang mga values ng a, b, and c in this equation? The first thing to do is to make sure that your equation is in the form of standard form. Okay? So dapat nakaayos siya. So dapat mauuna si quadratic term, sunod si linear term, and last si constant term wherein magkakasama sila sa isang side ng equation, and also naka-equate sila sa 0. So for us to get the values of a, b, and c, you just have to look for the numerical coefficients of each term. Okay? So for a, you are going to look for the numerical coefficient of your quadratic term. Your quadratic term is x squared, therefore your a is positive 1. So bakit po naging positive 1? So remember or take note that kapag yung x mo ay walang kasamang numerical coefficient, so it is understood that its numerical coefficient is positive 1. Okay? How about your b? So your b will be obtained by looking at your linear term. And your linear term here is positive 3x. Therefore, your b is positive 3. Okay? For your letter c, which is constant, that is negative 15. Next example, 2x squared minus 1 is equal to 0. So what do you think is your a here? Okay, that is correct. The numerical coefficient of your quadratic term, that is 2. How about your letter b? How about the value of b? Okay, the value of b here is 0. Take note or remember na kapag wala or hindi nag-exist ang ating linear term, it is also understood na ang value ng b is equal to 0. How about the value of c? That is correct, negative 1. So another example, so 4x squared plus 4x is equal to 0. What do you think is the value of a, b, and c? The value of a here is obviously positive 4. The value of b here is positive 4. How about c? Okay, that is 0 because constant does not exist. Therefore, it is understood also that the value of c is equal to 0. Okay? For the fourth example, we have x is equal to 5x. What do you think are the values of a, b, and c? Okay, there are no values of a, b, and c because the example itself is not an example of quadratic equation. Okay? So tandaan, so when we say quadratic equation, its highest degree or exponent is 2. So that would be all for this video lecture. So for my reference, Math 9 module based on MELCS, week 1, quarter 1, specific competency is illustrating quadratic equation. Thank you.